Hey, what is up? Welcome to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com. I am your host, as always, the Dharma Guy here with the Dope Doctor. What's up, man?
What up?
You're feeling a little chilly today?
Well, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, but
Me too.
I think you froze the room up a little bit.
I didn't touch the AC this time. That is just Mother Nature helping us out, which I'm cool with.
It was a little warm outside today, though. At least in the sunshine it was warm.
Sure.
It's a little chilly in the shade because of the wind.
See, I cannot wait for the day that I'm able to be chilly. I'm looking forward to that. You keep telling me it happens with age, so I'm now another year older as of whatever day that was, Saturday or whatever.
I'm loving this weather, man. This is the perfect temperature so far. I'm loving it.
Well, I'm still not there yet.
Between 50s and 70s is perfect temperature for this time of year. I like it.
Right on. So
you want 40s and 30s.
I would love 40s and 30s, but I don't think that's going to happen, especially in this state.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, let's go ahead and do our little housekeeping. As we've mentioned before, as numerous times, but we're going to keep drilling into your guys' heads until you call us. If you're struggling with addiction, if you need some help, if anybody in your family, anybody you know reaches out to you, they've got an issue, they don't know who to turn to, they can call us at 833-NOW-MATTERS. That's 833-NOW-MATTERS. Right. Or you can go to nowmattersmore.org. You can find out who we are, what we do. You can fill out an application, or you can use that donate button and help us out. We appreciate that. And as always, you can follow us on social media and all the different platforms. It's at WPSN99, at the Dharma Guy, at the Dope Doctor. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow at Now It Matters More. Or you can subscribe and check us out on iTunes and Google Play, all those other fun stuff. YouTube, youtube.com/Dharma Time. So that is our spiel. So let's go ahead and get started because I know
you did well with that, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'll do my best.
Yep.
And sometimes that's good enough.
Sometimes.
But anyways, let's get to the meat and potatoes because I think that's what everybody wants.
Oh, meat and potatoes.
That's right. So based upon the photo that we posted on social media, I think a lot of people are like, I wonder what that is. I guess to
and you didn't even put R. Kelly on there.
No, I did not. There were so many to choose from, man.
So many.
There's a lot of people. Many. I didn't know who to choose. I was trying to find people who I knew that somebody would have an opinion about, basically, and that's why I chose the ones I chose. Right. It was literally a crapshoot. I had 100 to choose from. I just picked what I felt to be the most divisive.
You wanted to put my boy Ben Roethlisberger on there.
I was going to, but I didn't know if enough people knew about his, transgressions potentially. Anyways, full transparency. I'm going to talk everybody through, the thought process that led to today's show.
Okay.
So as I'm sure most people are aware, unless you're living under a rock, Kobe Bryant and his daughter and 7 other people tragically passed away in a helicopter accident over the weekend. Right. I will say, though, when I first saw it, I didn't think it was real. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, when I first
watching the Pro Bowl? Was that how you saw it?
Yeah, when it first popped up, I didn't think it was real, only because Betty White's died every year for the last 10 years. Jeff Goldblum's died a bunch of times.
Really?
Yeah. So I was just like, I don't know. I didn't think it was real at first. Okay. I was waiting for confirmation. And I don't know why, because part of me knows and understands that we could all die at any given moment. But then you look at certain, you just don't, you don't anticipate that to happen. And him being in his prime and being the success that he's seen on the court, all the things he's done, his second career, I don't know. I just assumed he'd be around longer, I guess, and that was my fault. But regardless, he did pass away,
right?
Tragically with his daughter, and then it's just on a side note. I don't know if you saw the people that did pass.
Oh my God,
dude! It was a mom, a dad, and a daughter. And then there was another woman who was I guess the coach, and she left behind a husband and 3 kids. I mean, it was just
yeah, that's horrible.
I couldn't imagine waking up the next morning and what do I do now? It's just it's horrible. However, there's some debate happening, and then there's some controversy or some infighting taking place.
Okay.
Kind of not necessarily on the sports shows like ESPN and things of that nature. They're more or less focusing on mostly what his on-court achievements were and what he meant to the sport of basketball. Right. But on some other news programs and as well as social media, things of that nature, there's a lot of going back and forth at the moment about Kobe and some of his past transgressions and kind of what that means.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, that. But,
got me.
Anyways, so I figured today's show could be about redemption in the sense of it's interesting as a society on how we kind of decide who gets redemption, how long it takes, and what is redeemable and what isn't.
Right.
You know, like there's a lot of famous individuals, or infamous, to put it that way, I guess, that have done things or have done things and become infamous from that. It really strikes a chord with people, and we've obviously done forgiveness shows and things of that nature.
Right.
Which could all be viewed at youtube.com/Dharma Time. but no, so I think that today's show, I just wanted to kind of like, I don't know, man. I wanted to just dive into that a little bit and discuss it.
Yeah.
You know, we'll start, I guess, with Kobe, and we'll make it all around. I don't want to focus on any one person. I mean, obviously, I want to respect the fact that he just died.
Yeah.
But
well, that's because it's what people are talking about.
Sure. So if I'm honest, you know, I definitely
no, don't lie to us. I mean, exactly. Who tunes in for you to lie to us?
Right.
I mean, really?
No, you know, kind of just to be blunt about it, I have mixed feelings about the Kobe thing. I really do.
Not about death.
No, not about the death.
Okay, let's get that straight.
Just about the way they're honoring him and certain words that are being used. There's certain things that, like anything on the court. Let me preface that. First of all, I'm a Jordan fan, and anything that comes close to Jordan would be Kobe. Like, to me, I think Kobe was the closest on court to Jordan as you're going to get
for the position.
Yeah, you know, I think Kobe was phenomenal. The things he did on the court, I don't know if anybody can really argue against that. Dude got 5 championships, broke a lot of records. Like, you know, he was a remarkable player.
Yeah,
but my issue,
I ignored a lot of Kobe play. Gotta admit, I was more of a Shaq fan.
See, I was
a different position kind of person. I kind of like the whole big guy position in the center kind of deal a little bit more.
Sure, I can't hate on that. But anyways, so the only, I don't know if I would call it an issue, man, because I'm not like walking around in my daily life messed up about this.
Right.
But there are certain times where I've heard things mentioned that I'm just like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about that. I hear a lot of people saying about how he was a role model and he was just a great person, things of that nature. And while I think there's an abundance of things that he's done off the court that have benefited many people and from many different walks of life, I can't help but to remember the court case about the alleged rape. And I say alleged because it never went to court. There's a lot of debate on why that happened. I reread some of the stuff because I didn't want to have an opinion that wasn't informed, essentially. So I want to go back and refresh some things.
Okay.
And essentially what's happened is, and once again, this isn't a crime show, so if I get a detail wrong, don't sue me. We're talking about philosophy here, not some.
You're a philosopher?
I try. But anyways, so essentially he was married at the time. He went to Colorado. He had a kid who was roughly 6 months old. I'm assuming on a personal level he was probably struggling with some things and fame, and, you know, who knows? I don't know what was going through his head. But apparently he went to this hotel, saw the girl who was working there. He kind of asked her for a tour of the place later on that night. She, of course, was excited and more than willing to oblige. They did the tour. He invited her back to the room. They went back to the room, and then that's where kind of the story would deviate depending on who you talk to. Essentially, he kind of, not to get graphic, but he sexually assaulted her there, according to her. According to him, they had consensual sex. That night, she told people. The next morning, she called the police. They tried to get everything done. Where it kind of gets a little bit muddy is certain things were leaked to the public that shouldn't have been leaked, like her name, her past, and then she started getting death threats. Like, that is why they claimed that she didn't testify anymore, because she felt like it was ruining her life, and she didn't want to continue to be victimized in her eyes. Bottom line is the court case was thrown out. There was a civil suit that was settled outside of court for an undisclosed amount. But more importantly, for me anyways, he released an apology afterwards that to me felt very incriminating. He basically said, look, I feel it was consensual, but I could understand how you would feel it wasn't consensual, and for that I'm sorry, kind of a thing. I think that was his way of trying to take accountability, maybe. So either way, I can't help but to think that if I was the father, like if one of my daughters had that incident happen to them and no socially acceptable justice was doled out, like jail time, things of that nature, guilty verdict, who knows. I don't know how I'd feel right now watching TV and watching that happen, knowing that my daughter's life was basically I don't know if I would say ruined, but maybe ruined. We'll use that word for now. Saying he's a role model. Like I just, man, not to say that you are your crime forever, because that's what we're talking about today. Obviously, is redemption. Right. It just, I don't know how I would feel about that, if I'm honest. I don't know if I have a great answer to how I would feel, because how do you decide redemption for somebody? Are some things redeemable? Are some things not redeemable?
I think that's a big question, right?
Yeah, and I feel for me, there are some actions in this world that are not redeemable or not forgivable.
To you, though.
Correct.
Right.
But to me, every person deserves forgiveness. Because as you're famous for saying numerous times, and I agree with it, is you shouldn't be defined by your worst moments. Because we all had really bad moments. Right. Some worse than others, depending on how you measure that. Right. And I think of all the good that I've done in my life and what I've meant to so many different people, and I would hate to think that I'm remembered for like the things I did when I was younger and I was a bully or whatever. I think there's so much more to me. I think that was an aspect of my life, but I think I've grown and matured, and I think I've tried to pay it forward as much as I could. And I would prefer for that to be the legacy I leave behind. Not to say that there's potentially somebody out there right now who's upset and kind of dealing with things because of things I did to them when I was younger. There might well be, and for that I'm truly sorry. But
which is probably what kind of appears to have happened here, is that an individual obviously at the very least cheated on his wife.
Yes.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
At least did that. So she forgave him. He got back with her. Yep. The big joke at the time, I think, was the $10 million ring.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
the apology ring. Yeah. But the point is that exactly what you just said is that you would hope that you would live long enough to be remembered for something different. It kind of seems like that's what's happening here.
It does.
For this guy, this young man, obviously did a lot of things afterwards that we probably don't know about, Trinity, because it's just wasn't sexy television. Yeah. The sexy television is when he cheated, when there's sexual assault, when you're buying a $10 million ring, when you're winning titles. Yeah. Those things are sexy. What's not sexy is getting back with your family, kind of keeping a lower profile, focusing on family, going to church,
doing the right thing,
which is kind of seems like what he turned into.
Yeah, but that to me is where the interesting, really that's where the I guess the dichotomy of it all kind of comes into play, which is very interesting to me, because you look at him,
right,
and that's another human being that is a, I've been in conversations with people, and some of them have used the word mistake. To me,
I'm not going to
potentially
say
raping
mistake.
somebody is not a mistake.
I'm not going to
running a red light when I wasn't paying attention is a mistake.
Right.
Forcefully raping somebody is not a mistake to me. That's like a really bad thing.
Right.
But so many people seem to have forgiven that and moved on, and are able to appreciate what he meant to basketball and what he meant to so many other people. To whereas you have other individuals, and some of which were listed on my thumbnail that we put up. Right off the top of my head, the first one I could think of is Michael Vick.
Right.
Michael Vick, and I remember, oddly enough, I remember at the time of this whole thing that came out with Michael Vick.
Yeah.
It was literally within days when this whole thing was happening.
You got to do a quick reminder for those that don't know, I think.
For those of you who are not aware, Michael Vick years ago was a football player. He played with the Falcons. Probably one of the best in the league. Was breaking records. Was something we'd never seen before. Right. However, during that time frame, he was also on his personal life. He was running a dogfighting kind of ring there.
Right.
That was guilty of atrocious things towards animals.
It's animal cruelty.
Yeah, I mean, that's
bottom line, animal cruelty.
And so he got,
and he went to prison.
He got caught for that. He got arrested. It came out that he kind of was raised around it. So for him, culturally, that was an acceptable thing. Society obviously differed in that opinion. He went to jail, did his jail time, came out. Was highly involved with PETA and everything else, and all sorts of different things to redeem him.
Right.
Got back into the league, was successful. He mentors other people, and by all accounts,
wasn't as successful, but yeah.
By all accounts, he kind of moved forward and was a positive force now in life. However, there's still people who were like really upset at him.
Oh yeah.
It came out that he was gonna somehow, I don't remember, but somehow, some way, be involved with this year's Pro Bowl. There was like a petition going around with hundreds of thousands of people signing it. And it was like, wow. It was interesting to me that they refused to give him redemption, and that was a dog. Like I would,
Well, he's still fighting for his redemption.
Yeah,
is what it is.
I would much rather have somebody, I would rather come home and to find out somebody injured my dog than somebody did something to my daughter. Like, you're giving me the choice. Not to say that dogs aren't man's best friend and blah, blah, blah. It's a dog, dude. That's my daughter. Like,
is this a what would you rather kind of conversation?
Right? But what really kind of irritated me at that time, and I remember, was, and I very distinctly remember this because I spent a lot of time in Miami back in the day.
Yeah.
Dante Stallworth, who was a receiver at the time for, I think it was the Browns, killed a man.
Yeah.
He was drinking and driving. Yeah. There was an old man who was in the middle of the road or across the road, whatever. He hit the man and killed him.
Yeah.
Nowhere on ESPN. I think they did one little blip about it.
Not a big enough name.
And that was it. Michael Vick, on the other hand, was like Satan come to life. It was amazing how much animosity was directed towards Michael Vick. Like, you would think he was out there like burning down orphanages or something.
Well, because it's animals.
Yeah.
Trinity. I mean,
but this was a human. And
people
to me,
don't care as much about humans, Trinity.
But what was interesting to me was Michael Vick couldn't get any redemption at all, even though he's done so many things, and nobody even remembers that Dante Stallworth killed a man. You know what I mean? And mind you, Dante Stallworth, if I remember correctly, was drinking.
Right.
So he made a poor decision that he could have very easily not made. When you're rich, you could call an Uber, you could call a taxi. There's no reason for you to get in the car and drive.
Which is why you had Vince Neil on that collage, because Vince Neil from Motley Crue, back in '84,
killed somebody.
Killed, a friend of his.
Yeah.
A drummer from another band because he was drinking and driving.
Yeah.
So and he didn't have to pay for that at all, really.
Yeah. Well, you got
DUI.
Kennedy. There's a long list of
Chappaquiddick.
Yeah. So even Caitlyn Jenner killed somebody in her Porsche. Yeah. So like, but that's my thing. It's just it's interesting as we as a society how we decide who gets redemption and who doesn't, and when they get it, when they don't get it.
Right.
And well, the other ones that were on the thumbnail, right? Let's just get them out of the way. We got OJ, of course, who just.
Do we even need to go into that story?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know by OJ at this point.
If you
I don't know what to tell you. And then we had who else? Oh, we had Donald Trump.
He's still seeking redemption.
Yeah.
There's people won't forgive him for nothing.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing with me when it comes to the Trump argument, and I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure this does not turn into a political show.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
I do find it interesting, and full disclosure, for those of you who know me, for those of you who don't, who watch the show, I am a registered independent. I don't really lean either way to either one of the parties. I think they both have their pluses and minuses.
Me too.
When it comes down to Trump, I'm not pro or anti-Trump. I don't know the man. He's never been in my house. He's never done anything for me or whatever. But I think it's interesting the amount of hate and vitriol that comes his way. And I don't understand why sometimes, because I've asked people, like, what did he do? Like, and some of them, their biggest problem with him is all verbal. Like, things that he said, like the grab him in the pussy thing, or some of the tweets that he's done, they all kind of, like, revert back to those.
Yeah.
And I can understand being offended by things. I get it.
Yeah.
But to be more offended by what somebody verbally said than by what somebody has physically done, like, it's just weird to me.
Look, there's a lot of people that are idolizing Kobe and saying the nice things about Kobe today that would completely destroy Trump. And to your point, what you were saying is, really, what does a person have to do? Like, what does redemption look like, feel like? I mean, because there's a lot of people probably listening and watching this, Trinity, that have done some things that maybe are difficult for them to forgive themselves about and feel redeemed about. But at the end of the day, none of us want to be judged by those worst moments.
No.
I mean, you want to be judged by your arrest photo, your lineup.
Well, I mean, think about that just for a second. Anybody who's watching this right now or listening to this, stop what you're doing right now and just think for a second about the worst thing that you think you've ever done.
Yeah.
And now imagine that's
not caught. Yeah,
no, not caught. The worst thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
And think about that's all anybody will. Like, you're going to now put on your resume or on a business card the worst thing you've ever done and pass that out to everybody, and that's all they know about you. How would that feel?
Yeah.
Like, that would suck.
Yeah, you don't know how you're going to respond to that kind of stuff. And I think that's the thing, Trinity. I think that the people that are probably saying a lot of this stuff about Kobe, I'm looking at it like this. I'm looking at it like people are taking it personal. This is what this individual meant to me.
Right.
In other words, like I enjoyed watching him play. This is them talking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I enjoyed watching him play. I grew up watching him play, idolizing
Sure.
him, being amazed. So for what he added to my life and value to my life, this is the way I look at him. Whereas that case, because whoever his attorney was, whoever his publicists were, whatever he was guided to do, and the way he accepted that help, as opposed to someone like Antonio Brown who can't get out of his own damn way. Kobe somehow helped it go away to the public. So for all the people that are out there feeling really sad about his passing, I think that's what it is. That didn't really affect them for a long period of time because it was out of the public eye. It wasn't in the news anymore.
Well, and it didn't happen to them.
Right.
They weren't the father or the sister or the brother or whatever.
And it didn't keep thrown in your face. And you know what I mean? Like whereas I brought him up and you didn't put him on the picture, but Antonio Brown, he didn't really do his, we don't know if he didn't do as harmful as a thing because now he's accused of some sexual assault, right?
Well,
but he will not be able to get out of his own way. He hasn't proven to be able to shut up one bit. OJ can't get out of his own way. Instead of just going off and retiring, playing golf, he's still trying to.
Well, he's doing all these videos now, like these political videos, trying to.
And who writes a book that said "If I Did It"?
Yeah,
or "I Did It," or whatever the hell the name is.
Whoever was advising him did a bad job.
No, it's not the advisor. He just clearly will not hear the advice.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby, another face.
Yeah.
Bill Cosby is still acting like he's innocent. Right. He's still not acting like he did anything wrong, and the people still idolize Bill Cosby as if he didn't do anything wrong. So I think when you look at the first two names that you mentioned, Vick. To some, no matter what he does for the rest of his life, there's no redemption.
And that's the thing that bothers me with the whole redemption part.
Right. It's very subjective.
It is very subjective.
Right.
And so to me, like, I don't know what goes into that. I mean, each person has to answer that for themselves.
Right.
Like, why you have such a hardened stance on either this person or this action. But to me, I think that is the thing to always remember, though, when it comes to redemption, be it giving it or receiving it. Let's say you're looking for redemption.
Right.
You got to keep in mind that there's always going to be a subset of the people, be it in your personal life or in the world, that are not going to forgive you. They're never going to look past it. They're never going to get over it, and that's on them. That's where they're at in their lives. That's where they're at in their journey, and where they're at just won't allow. And
what are they supposed to do about that, Trinity?
Nothing. You got to let it go.
Because a matter of fact, you know what? We didn't even talk about it. I'm going to throw up another one to you. We've had conversations with this individual, and we've had conversations about should the person apologize or not. And when we talked to her, we were even like, what the hell she got to apologize for, really? But that's what people want to hear, right?
Yeah.
Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah.
Going to that.
We've spoken to her on numerous occasions.
Right.
And she's another one that has, like a lightning rod, has really pissed off a lot of people for some reason.
There's more people angry at Rachel Dolezal because she what do you call it? She identifies herself as black.
Yeah.
This is a white woman, born white, but she identifies herself as black. Tends to, by appearance, you might think she is black or very light skinned. She has black children because she prefers black men. Yeah. But she's hated upon for this kind of thing.
Big time.
Which is, I think, ridiculous that more people hate on her than they did for Kobe, who raped somebody, or allegedly. And you have to say allegedly because if you believe in the system, which I do, until you're convicted, you're not guilty.
Correct.
But I know the society, they only say that about themselves because there's a lot of people, without getting political, there's a lot of people out there convicting Trump that would never want to be convicted off allegations. They would say, whoa, the government hasn't, I got away with it, or there's no convictions on me, but they'll convict the hell out of someone like that.
Yeah, well, and we, on a more frequent basis, we deal with this a lot. Like, I wasn't in your groups, but I got to assume you dealt with it a lot. I know I did.
Yeah.
A lot when we were at Tropical, for instance, and other facilities that we both have been in. Right. So many times I would have the individual who's struggling with addiction. They're in the rehab trying to get better.
Yeah.
One of the things that was always really heavy on them was their family wouldn't let go of the hurt and betrayal that they did. Like, no matter what education the family got and knew it was a disease, they still, like, you lied to me, you did these, and I don't care that you've been in rehab for 30 days and everything else. And so that was a conversation I had to have a lot with them because they would always ask me, well, what if they don't forgive me?
It's because there's looks, and I mean, when you're counseling people, there's people that have stolen from their parents and grandparents, didn't go to funerals. They hurt somebody. They've watched their friend overdose and walked away and didn't call 911. There's
put their kids in jeopardy.
Yeah, was in the dope house, in the trap house, while someone was, their little kid was in the car. Look, there's a lot of things that people have dealt with while under the disease of addiction, and so it's hard to seek for that forgiveness and to get that redemption that you're looking for. And I think that the main reason we wanted to do this show today, though, is because regardless of how you view any one individual, because everybody out there has a different, I guess, not crime, but a different action that you just, not only not forgivable, that you might say you forgive, but you don't really hear in your heart forgive. Right. You say you forgive because it's the right thing to say. You want to feel like you're forgiving, but in your heart, I don't know. And so, to me, I have to admit, there's two things. I'm not healthy enough, Trinity. I'm just not there.
Right.
But if you rape a woman or a little boy, even rape a boy,
Raping anybody.
A little boy.
How about that?
No, because I'm just being full transparent. I think there's levels, and I'm just being honest.
Sure.
There's levels. Like if you say rape a little boy, just rape a little girl, rape a female. Period. That just has a different vibe than rape a guy. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get on you guys that are adult males that have been raped. I'm just saying that to me, there's certain things that when you say that,
right.
Or you punch an elderly person.
Yeah.
There's just certain things that's just like, oh my God.
Right.
And I think that my heart at this point in my life still is not there to forgive you for that. The child molestation, the hurting of elderly people, I think is just way too serious for me.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying I'm correct.
Sure. Oh, but that's the thing, is everybody has to decide that for themselves.
Right. But what I'm saying is redemption for you, if you did those things, look, just because Louis, who gives a crap about me, Delgado, doesn't forgive you, doesn't mean that you don't deserve forgiveness or redemption for yourself. And you should still move forward and do the things necessary for your own life because you're still living.
Well, and that to me is where I think that, for instance, staying on this particular topic in person, that's where I think Kobe won. Because I think he did. I think
he did too.
I think that the only, I'll say saving grace, if you will, or the only kind of perspective that I can look at it to where I get it all is, it wasn't a, the movie style man in the dark alley doesn't. It was a, they both saw it different ways. Who knows? Maybe in his heart of hearts, he legitimately thought that there was a consensual thing. I don't know. In other words, in his mind, it could have been confused that way. Right. So for that, it's a little bit lesser, I think, than the person who breaks into somebody's house with the intent of doing harm, whatever. But more importantly, afterwards he did. It did seem like he kind of like, all right, you know what? I need to grow up.
It seems like he did.
He got back with his wife. They worked on. He's been married for almost 20 years.
Yeah. They went to counseling.
His children. They went to counseling. He's going to church and doing his thing now.
Right.
He's he's funded so many different projects for. He's really big on females basketball. WNBA. He's put his daughter into it. Like he really did kind of like. If you take away that allegation and anything else that I'm not aware of, if you take away those things, the dude just did a remarkable life. Like he really.
We hope.
That's what I say. If you take away the things that we don't know about, or
right.
If you look at it just from that perspective, yeah, man. And so if you do add in that, I think that's the only thing you can do. Like if you're potentially guilty of something that horrendous, and you kind of like, quote unquote, learn from your mistakes, if you will, learn from your wrongdoings. That is how you get redemption. Is by changing your ways, becoming a service to yourself and those around you. That is how you get redemption. It really is. And then Michael Vick, on the other hand, is a perfect example of how there are going to be certain things or certain people who will never give you redemption no matter what. And to be honest with you, those people don't count.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, they may count as individuals in the world, but you can't let them stop you from doing the things necessary. Like don't you can't identify yourself by the way someone else identifies you.
No. You can't.
You know what I mean? I mean, look, the old thing like walks like a duck, quacks like a duck?
Yeah.
All right. But then when you start being different and you live differently, you're no longer that duck.
Right.
There's a duck within, but you're not that duck anymore. But you can't try to tell everybody, hey, I'm not that duck anymore. Just, hey, you're not going to convince them.
Right.
To them, you're a duck. You're always going to be a duck. That's your luck. But you have to govern yourself and your life internally doing the right things today, being the right things today, because all the people that now know you, all the people that are around you now, they know you the way you are now. Like you made mention on the Couch Live this past Friday that, because you've never experienced my life the way it was when I was living a different way, you said it's hard for you to imagine that. And that's the good thing. I haven't seen you live like that, so it's a different imagination, right? We only know each other like this. Yeah. So this is the us that we have. Yeah. I'm hoping this is the us that we always have. But for those that won't forgive me or those that won't forgive you,
sorry,
I got friends that won't forgive me, man. Yeah. There's a couple friends, and I'll say them right now, because if anybody knows Ray Garcia is in California making movies. Ray will probably never forgive me for what I did to him. Dan, the man's cousin, Dan, he'll never forgive me for stuff that I did. I wish that he would, but they won't. As far as I know, and I've reached out. I've tried to get it, man. And it's their prerogative. But that's the way it is, right?
Yeah. And you kind of. You were hinting at something a little bit earlier that I think that is somewhat unrelated but also related. I think it bears mentioning. Right. Only because I don't know the age group of the people that are watching at the moment. Right. And I see it a lot more with the younger group, but it's everywhere. And that is, sometimes you might think you know somebody, but you don't always know that person because you spent X amount of hours with them. Sometimes people have a completely different life that you know nothing about.
Yeah.
And so I think that bears kind of like, so some of these people who you uplift and think are amazing, always keep in the back of your mind what you see of them is amazing. There might be something else. There may or may not. I'm not saying there is, but just don't get so in love with another person's mystique that you forget the reality that we're all human beings. Right. And we have good moments and not so good moments, right? And vice versa. Somebody you look at that you think is so bad and so whatever, that's your perspective. They might have a whole other side to them that you don't see, and we don't know, kind of how that would impact us. Essentially, like an example, what I would say is like where I see this a lot is in my daughter right now, right? My kids. I shouldn't even say my daughter. All three of my kids, in varying degrees, will look at somebody on YouTube or a friend of theirs or whatever, and they have this misconception that because they watch a YouTube video or because they see them at school that they know that person. Oh, I know them. They would. No, you don't. You see them a few hours out of the day, and you see what they're showing you. They're not showing you their insecurities, their fears, their transgressions. They're not showing you their deep, dark secrets. We all have them. Some are varying levels of badness, I guess, whatever. But I want people to keep that in mind. Like, so for instance, with Kobe, two things can be true at the same time. Right. He is allegedly guilty of something that is horrendous, but he also meant a lot to a lot of people, and he did a lot of really good for the game of basketball and for the people around him. Two can be true.
And again, to again, restate the point, to those individuals that are praising him and feeling very sad for him being lost to them, they felt like they knew him. That's the point. And to them, they felt like and you know what? If that's I get it. You grew up watching them. That's exactly what happens, right? You grew up watching somebody. You spent a lot of great moments celebrating with them. It felt like, right? Yeah. So we have to understand that. But it also doesn't. I think it's one of those things that Trinity, even having this talk, it's almost like a taboo to talk about anyone when they pass away. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like it made me think we better get all our Bill Cosby hate and stuff out now before he passes, because as soon as he passes, I'm going to have a hard time hearing all the positives about Bill Cosby, right? Because I've never heard him say anything that's even close. But he doesn't owe me anything, Trinity. No. That's the thing. Bill Cosby doesn't owe me anything yet. I'm one of these people that feel almost like robbed because I looked up to this guy and his humor. But I also did not like when he would attack people like Eddie Murphy back in the day, because my favorite comics were more like Eddie Murphy.
Mine too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm here watching Blazing Saddles over here, and then I hear somebody say, if you don't have to curse to be funny, and he was get on them, and I used to be like, man, why are you saying that, Bill? Because I like you. Right. Don't say that. And then to find out behind the scenes, this is what this guy was doing. So, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, other than I think that we all just have those things inside of us that when we grow up with somebody watching them, we do feel like we personally know them. We do feel somehow like they're a part of our life. So when they pass, it's very sad. And that's what happened right now. There's somebody that really had a lot of celebratory moments, so a lot of good times.
Well, and most people saw him grow up. Like he came on the scene at 17.
Dude, yeah.
He's 41 when he died.
17 years old in the NBA.
Yeah, and so people watched
18.
him grow, But actually, you talking about that really made me think of something else that I don't know. I think I might have told you a while back when it first happened. Even for me, they always say don't meet your heroes kind of a thing.
Oh, boy.
Well, Noah Levine, the guy who wrote, like when I was struggling and I needed spirituality, I needed something in my life.
Great
and I came across the book, Dharma Punks. And normally I'm not for whatever reason, I just never dabbled into philosophy or spirituality. It just didn't mean anything to me. But that day, I was just teachable.
Yeah.
Some things in my life happened, and I was teachable. That book came in front of me. I read it, and it changed my life. I read that book, and in that book, he talks about a story, who he is, he grew up, his whole journey. And then I read the rest of the books he came up with, and he was somebody that I kind of wanted to meet one day. Like, I wanted to meet him. I actually did reach out to him on social media, things of that nature. I reached out saying, look, man, I just want to let you know, like, thanks, dude. Like, because I know how good it is.
Change your life.
I know how good it feels for me
Yeah.
when people who've gone through different groups and whatnot will reach out to me years later and tell me that I had an impact on them, or I was a catalyst of some sort that saved them or whatever. It feels good. So I wanted to give the same to him. So I messaged him. I was like, look, man, I don't know if you'll read this, but just to let you know, I was in a bad place. I read your book, changed my whole life around. I'm a different person now. But then I'd say it was probably about a year ago now, give or take. I was reading a story, and it turns out that he was accused of, and it seems like there was a significant amount of evidence to show that there was merit to this. He was sexually assaulting people and using his position as a teacher in that world to kind of take advantage of people. Like, there's a lot of indiscretions, a lot of dark waters there. And I got to admit that I was kind of crushed at first because I put him up on a pedestal almost. I was like, look, this guy kind of...
So now I'm just up on that pedestal by myself.
There you go, man. But so for me, I kind of had to address that.
Yeah.
I had to kind of realize, well, you know what? Like, he is a human.
Yeah.
And at no point did he ever try to say that he wasn't. And it just so happens that he was accused of something that's on my list of, like, unforgivable.
Yeah.
Like, for me, assaulting a woman, or just you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, you get out of my way, bro. Like, I lose all respect for you if you do something like that. So that is on my list.
And having daughters is what made that worse for me, by the way.
Same here.
And
so for me, I still struggle sometimes when somebody will come ask me about a book or something like that. Obviously, I refer them to Dharma Time, because we talk about it. But if they want alternate sources other than just me, which I encourage, he was one of the big ones I used to tell people to go to, and I still do. But I always feel like I have to preface it by saying the words are still true, regardless of the actions of the man. Like, don't hate the philosophy, hate the man kind of a thing. If you're going to hate, I don't think you should hate anybody. But my point is, the philosophy didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
He's a imperfect human being who unskillfully did some things in life.
Right.
But same concept is redemption. And I don't know if he'll ever have redemption in my eyes as far as, will I ever put him back to where he was? Probably not.
I think it'd be hard because, again, I think personal.
Yeah.
I think, when you gave him a certain position in your heart.
Yep.
And I think once you do that, once you give an athlete, a rock star, even us, there's people that have put you or me in their heart a certain way. And I feel like I don't want to let them down.
Yeah, I feel that all the time.
To be honest with you, especially in the early years, that helped me make better decisions.
Right.
Because I knew, I had so many clients I was seeing, and I was on the air. I had a television show, and I'm thinking, oh, my God. If I make this decision, I'm like, I hurt people. I don't just hurt me. Look, if I'm going to hurt somebody, I want to know who I'm hurting, and I want to be like happy about doing it. You know what I mean? I want the joy. Sure. I know it sounds crazy and twisted, but I know you'll understand. Yeah. In other words, if I'm going to hurt you, I want the joy of hurting you. Like, I did it on purpose because in my head, I felt like you deserved it. Right. I don't want to hurt people because I'm just a friggin' idiot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no, dude, I think about that all the time.
Accidentally,
I think about it all the time. Like, if I'm in the middle of doing something or a decision will come up, or even a post that I'm thinking about doing or whatever.
Yeah, especially some of your earlier posts.
Yeah, I definitely stop to think about, like, wait a minute. Like, people look at, they want the Dharma Guy to be the Dharma Guy.
Right.
So I have to kind of contemplate that. Even my position as president of the Now Matters More Foundation. Like, I remember way back in the day, I would be out, back when I drank more, I would put, like, picture of the beer, like, oh, this is good. But I haven't even touched a drink now in, like, probably a couple of years. Because I just don't really it started out as not wanting to be, and I know everybody says they don't care. I do. Yeah. To me, it's disrespectful if I'm hanging out with a bunch of people who are in recovery to sit there and drink. For me, it's just like, really? It's not so important in my life that I have to potentially trigger or, be that influence on somebody, whether I am or not.
Right.
It's not important enough to me to potentially do that. So I just chose not to. Yeah. And then over time, it became just, I don't really care. I don't even want it anymore. But yeah, I absolutely am aware of the position that I may or may not hold in certain people's eyes before I say or do anything.
And I think so that's the real deal. I think what we're talking about today is that I think that we're all on some sort of redemption path of just trying to redeem ourselves, either from how we view ourselves, somebody out there views us, or from some action that we've done, especially if you're out there and you've had some issues in your life, whether it be anger management, whether it be substance abuse, whether it be multiple relationships that just went wrong because of some of your indiscretions, if you were, just still a child trying to be in an adult body, I guess. But I think, again, the faces that you put on this post, some of them have earned redemption and some haven't. Did we talk about all of them in the points that you wanted to make today? Because we got about 15 minutes left.
Well, before we get to that, the one thing I will say, I want to make sure we put out there, especially, let's just use the Kobe situation right now. If you're one of the people who is infatuated with the positives that he's done in life, or if you're the person that just can't get over the accusation, it's okay. I think that's important.
Okay.
It's okay. If you want to live your life and you think that you just can't get over the fact that this person may or may not have done something that you find atrocious and you don't want to celebrate them, that's okay. That's your right. You're entitled to do that. Or if you're the type of person that says, you know what, I don't know what happened. It's none of my business, but this dude kind of helped me as a kid or whatever it is, that's okay as well. Like, I'm not going to tell all the girls who are playing in that league because he created it that they should hate this person. Like, I'm not going to tell them to do that. That's up to you. And so I think that's important to keep in mind is that's your journey. You can walk it however you choose. All I'm saying is, just understand the consequences of both. Understand what comes with it. If you're gonna hold on to that resentment towards somebody, or if you're gonna forgive, like, you have to understand what both of those are gonna do. And if you're okay with it, walk your journey.
And you remind me of something I used to say. When and you probably have heard me say that. When people would say, how are you doing? And I would say, better than I deserve.
Right.
And it meant something to me because I first heard it from a friend of mine, Ruben Moreno, when I was visiting El Paso one time, said it, and I was like, man, I feel like that. So then when people would say it to me, I would say better than I deserve. But you know what? Not anymore. I deserve as good as I'm feeling, and I deserve as good as I'm doing now. And I didn't know how that happened, when that happened, or anything. I just know that it's no longer a statement that I can say is truth anymore. Yeah. And so all I can hope is that if you're out there and you've ever done some really horrible things, and I feel like I've done some really horrible things, obviously there's things that I know that I've done that are not forgivable to somebody, and that's on their list of, Louis doesn't deserve redemption. But my list is clear. So what I'm saying is you have to clear your list regardless.
Sure.
And hopefully you can impact a lot of people. And if you did some bad things, go impact more people positive.
Well, I
you
think
can't buy your way into heaven, kind of thing, but you could definitely build a different legacy.
Yeah, and we've had a couple comments on our Facebook feed that I want to address very quickly. First of all, Marissa said some pretty insightful things about us, and I'm not going to read the entire thing, but just thank you, Marissa, for the kind words.
Thank you. She said nice things.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
And Enrique said something. Only the ones closest to us can betray us. Placing the individuals on a pedestal is bringing them closer, very close to our life. And then Terry Cullen just put on here, we project our own morals onto others. I wish we would live and let live. And he is kind of right. He is right in a sense. I think that's kind of the crux of all this, is we take our perspective on what we think is right, what wrong, what should be, what isn't, and we judge everybody else based upon our set of morals and perspectives.
I agree with that, but you know what? I don't think I agree with that. But again, child molestation is still going to be on my list.
Yeah, that is a bad one.
I'm so sorry. Child molestation is on my list. So I may be projecting my morals that thou shalt not molest children or beat up elderly people.
That's a good one, I think.
But
keep that on the list.
I don't see myself letting that one go anytime soon.
Yeah.
And nobody on the list did that, right? Did anybody on your list do that?
I don't think so. What, beating up elderly or child molestation?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't have the.
I mean, even the Corey Haim thing. Did Corey Haim get molested by Charlie Sheen? We don't know.
I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, that's still.
I thought Corey Haim was the Michael Jackson one, but I could be wrong.
No, Corey Haim is not the Michael Jackson.
Okay. Let me see. I'm looking.
You're
at my
thinking
list.
Corey Feldman because he was friends with Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah. So I have on here, so Vince Neil. I think a lot of people don't really know. I think also for whatever reason, rock stars get a little bit of a pass at times because they expect them to be wild and crazy and rambunctious, but he killed somebody. So I think.
Well, Dee Snider still brings it up. Dee Snider, another rock star with Twisted Sister, still kind of brings it up sometimes. And he's like, you guys are idolizing a murderer.
Yeah.
So remember, there are friends of the drummer and the other people that were in the car that feel like, dude, this guy never paid for what he did. And I think that's the other thing. You brought that up. You should talk a little bit about that because there is a payment method that we all at least kind of as a society want, right?
I think in theory that goes into the redemptive process for a lot of people is they need to feel that you've atoned somehow. And as society, we typically view some sort of punishment. Right. There's a
what is that punishment though?
Well, that's the thing. I think it's different for different people. For me, I personally go under the guise that I think that, and I do this at my home, I do this personally, and I appreciate what is done to me. Mm-hmm. I think punishment or whatever should be corrective in nature, not punitive.
Okay, corrective, not punitive.
Yes. In other words,
trying to visualize that.
If I'm going to like my children, I don't punish them just to punish them. I try to correct the behavior. Okay. So I try to make it a teaching moment. I try to make it a realization of somehow, and I need to make it sting enough for them to get the message through.
All right. So now OJ it for me.
OJ it for me.
Yeah. What's a corrective, not punitive for OJ?
Well, I don't know if he could be corrected at this point. Like, I don't know if that's a good one.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard for people to watch him playing golf and free.
Sure.
When allegedly murdered two people.
Right. Well, that's when it comes down to. I think a lot of people want punitive. They don't want corrective. They want punitive.
All right.
I think people, in theory, they want to just hurt somebody. I hurt. I want you to hurt now. And to me, that doesn't really. It doesn't accomplish anything. The person didn't learn from that. They're not going to necessarily change from that. You just hurt them. Like, congratulations. So that's why I think corrective in nature should be, because I would much rather you not do it again than just to hurt you for hurting me.
Which is what we know. I mean, I don't even know if Michael Vick owns a dog.
I don't know either.
I think that if Michael Vick would put out a pet book,
a pet calendar, did he put like it was like a children's book or something. He teamed up with PETA and they did like a thing.
Yeah. So that's corrective.
Yeah.
But again, it wasn't sexy enough.
Yeah,
what was sexy is the fact that he had this ring going on when he was at the height of his career.
Yeah, the thing with Vic is a very interesting thing, though, is like you said, we as a society typically want payment of some sort.
We want payment.
Back in the day, that's why they did public hangings and things of that nature. In today's world,
is that why they did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. There's many reasons. I don't mean the lynchings. I mean hangings.
Okay.
But like Vic is an interesting example in a sense that, to me, Vic did everything right. Like
it appears
he went to jail. He paid his time. He did what the law says he was supposed to do.
Right.
When he got out, he teamed up with the groups like PETA and things of that nature to atone for that and to make sure he corrects that. He has shown remorse. He has shown, I've learned that while I thought that was socially acceptable, I'm realizing now that it's not.
Right.
I was in a culture that wasn't wasn't good for me or good for anybody else. I get it. I'm not going to do that anymore. He went back. He was making money. He's donated money. He's done different things. He's given his time. He mentors other people. Like, the dude turned everything around, and yet there are still people out there that just refuse. And I'm like, well, and to your point earlier, nothing. There's nothing he's going to do to get those people to ever look at him as anything other than the guy who killed a bunch of dogs.
There's only one thing that I can think of that you can do to obtain redemption, and that's live long enough to get it.
Yeah.
If you die while still in it, if you die like Epstein did, Epstein has no opportunity for redemption, right?
Yeah.
But listen, Michael, you still have an opportunity. OJ You said there's no chance. OJ, you still have an opportunity
maybe
to redeem yourself.
He might be the one, though. I don't know. We'll see.
If anyone can get it, it's OJ.
We'll see.
I don't know, man. That guy's got like this golden thing.
I don't know what is. He's weird.
But he can still redeem himself. Other people just can't. You know what I mean? And because they're gone.
Right.
Like these mass shooters, when they kill themselves, they have no opportunity to redeem themselves.
Right.
But when they live long enough, I think there's still something that can be said or done. But I don't think I can even get in my head one that did.
Oh, I mean, as
you know
a society,
what I mean?
We love second chances. Like, we love forgiving.
We do.
You know,
and we love underdogs.
If we feel it's genuine, if we feel that you've, like you said, there's been enough time or whatever to redeem.
And look at, like you brought up Caitlyn Jenner earlier. It's like you can't even hate on Caitlyn Jenner because of the transgender thing.
Yeah.
She killed somebody, but why?
Nobody really talks about it.
What is that?
Yeah.
Like, where's that conversation?
Well, the Kennedys. The Kennedys are such a revered family.
The dude was in office still for 20 years after that.
Yeah.
After Chadwick quitting. 30, 40 years after that.
And well, not only that, but the name Kennedy still has, like, power and weight.
Dude, and John Kennedy cheated on his wife, but because it was Marilyn Monroe. And then Marilyn Monroe died mysteriously, right? So probably murder.
Yeah.
And still, people look up to Kennedy.
Well, the other dude was drinking and driving, killed the girl, like the car went over, he killed the girl, and he like left. Like didn't even report it or anything. And the Kennedys still have power.
What about the heart-to-heart guy, the woman who fell overboard? Where oh my God, and there's some major actors involved with that. What was it? Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. So she fell over, and God, what's that guy with the cool voice? He's in so many movies. He's just got a cool way of speaking. Oh my God, this drives me nuts.
James Earl Jones?
No, a white guy.
Morgan Freeman? A white guy?
A white guy that has just a real cool one. You know, I can't even do it. I'm not even going to try to do it. But anyway, he was there at the murder scene. Supposedly they were all drinking. She fell overboard after an argument.
I'm going to have to look that one up.
She died. Natalie Wood, man. But in other words,
that's a good question, though. Has anybody gotten redemption that we can think of?
They live long enough. Kobe just got it.
Yeah, I think he's the one.
Kobe just got it. And I think there's more. I think there's others like Kobe who just lived long enough to put enough good in the world. So the key factor is, kids, live long enough to put out good when you know you did wrong. Even if we don't know that you did it, live long enough to put some good out in the world. And I think that's what we're learning about today.
I think so. I think that, like you said, I think Kobe put enough good in the world, be it through sports, winning and things of that nature, or off the court when he invested the time and money and energy and all these other extracurricular things to help bring people up.
Yep.
I do believe that that had something to do with
R. Kelly's gonna have to live a long time, bro.
That's still going on.
Bill, you better start treating that health good. Because Bill Cosby got to live a long time, and R. Kelly's got to live a long time to get that redemption.
I don't know the story behind it, Terry. Terry Cullen just mentioned Christopher Walken.
Robert Wagner. There it is. Your mom said it. Robert Wagner.
Oh, Robert Wagner. Okay.
Yeah. Had a great career. Never had to pay the price for killing Natalie Wood, and that's what it looks like. But that's not the guy with the cool voice. Who's the guy with the
Terry Cullen said Christopher Walken?
Christopher Walken. That's who it is. He was on the boat.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
He was on the ship. It was Christopher Walken, Robert Wagner, and Natalie Wood.
I have to look that up. I don't
she
remember that
fell overboard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I think redemption can be a powerful thing, though, and I think that.
So he's accomplice to a murder and never paid a price for it. And I love Christopher Walken
for
what he's doing for me.
I can think of another one.
Enjoyment.
Actually, bear with me here. I don't know if you
Snoop Dogg?
No. Ray Lewis.
Oh, Jesus.
Ray Lewis, early on in his career,
right.
back when Miami and stuff, was involved in like a shooting and like all sorts of stuff. And I think it happened twice, believe it or not. But then towards the end of his career, he was Ray Lewis. He was on like Wheaties box.
Right.
He was back in the Super Bowl when he retired. He was like one of the most beloved players. Right. Everybody loved him. He was celebrated. A lot of people forgot that he was like a suspect in a murder.
Yeah. And despite all the cocaine and the murder and the womanizing and all that stuff, but hey, Aaron Hernandez will never get the redemption. Died in a jail.
Yeah.
In other words, you got to live long enough, though, Trinity. Aaron Hernandez will never get it.
But we only have a few minutes, so you want to wrap up your
I just
thoughts?
did.
That's all you got? You're done?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The key is to live longer, kids.
Yeah, I think so.
Live long enough. And just understand, if you hurt people, despite what you view as hurt or pain or whatever, let me break it down to some simple ones for you. Anytime you sexually force yourself upon somebody, adult or child, and anytime you hit or hurt somebody physically, and let me add to that, and they didn't prompt it by hitting you first or throwing a punch at you
it's
first.
Not retaliation.
And by the way, that doesn't count. If an old lady tries to hit you with a purse and you punch her back and says she hit me first, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Just leave the old people and kids alone. That's on my book.
Are you saying that just because you're 50 now and you're getting older? Is that what it is? You
can still come try me, son. You can still come try me, but as soon as I turn 60, don't hit me no more.
Alone.
Yeah, leave me alone.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I'll give my tips here. And I'm going to do this from the perspective of seeking redemption as opposed to giving it. I'm going to do this from seeking. So, once again, we'd like to do some action steps, some plans here to kind of, give you some sort of wrap up here for watching. And for those of you who watched the whole hour, thank you so much. I know it's asking a lot at times, but I like to think we give value for you. Anyways, so the first tip I would have if you're seeking redemption is number one, understand that certain people will never forgive you or your action. No matter what you do, for whatever reason, that person, where they're at in their belief system, they will never give it to you. So if your goal is to get redemption from everybody in the world, you're starting out on the wrong foot, because that's never going to happen. There's always going to be somebody out there. You have to keep that in mind and understand it as you're on your journey seeking redemption. The second one is you got to move forward in a redemptive way. As he said, is live long enough, and you can't just live. Like, you got to live, but you got to do things with that time to quote unquote make up for it. So if you're looking for redemption, you can't just be like, oh, well, that was the old me. You got to show that you're not the old you anymore, and you do that through various ways, and it typically revolves around some sort of giving back, some sort of helping others, some sort of selfless act or life that you can lead. And then lastly is don't let your worst moments define you. I don't know you, and I don't know your worst moment, but I would like to think that we are not defined by our worst moments. I'd like to think there's more to us than who we were at our lowest point. And regardless of why you were in that lowest point, be it the disease of addiction, be it hurt, be it pain, be it confusion, youth, I don't know. But I like to think there's more to you than just what you are at your worst moment. If you have a 30-year, 40, 50-year life and you have one day, one moment where you did something horrible, I'd like to also think that the rest of that time still matters. And so keep that in mind. Don't define yourself based upon your worst moment, or let other people define you based upon your worst moment. Remember who you are and the value that you have, and continue to work towards that. And I think that you will find that redemption will come a lot easier for you than you may think. I think that's all we got. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. And until next time, now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.